4 teams remain in the hunt for the flag. This is the round ahead. Thanks to Coles, Nat Edwards, Josh Gabelich and Chad Wingard with you as we count down to the preliminary finals. And gents, this is such a great weekend of footy. Your favourite, I know.
Oh, it's the best pure weekend of footy on the calendar, Nat. Can't wait. MCG, 95,000 plus both days. Going to be absolutely cracking, Chad.
Oh, it should be great, especially the Hawthorn. I know it's not a Hawk show, but geez, I'm looking confident.
Okay, you need to pipe down over there. The stakes, of course, are massive this weekend. A place in the 2025 Toyota AFL Grand Final, of course, on the line. The Cats and the Pies, well, they've had a week off. They are champing at the bit. As we take a look at their opponents in the preliminary finals, both of them, of course, at the MCG. Friday night, of course, it's one of the best rivalries in football, Geelong and Hawthorn. That's going to be a fierce contest. Then the Saturday twilight, Collingwood facing off against the reigning premier in Brisbane. Can the Lions make it through to a third straight grand final? Now, before we do dive into some more analysis in these preliminary finals, and of course hear from Matthew Lloyd, our resident expert during the finals series, we thought we would whet your appetite a little bit. So here is our top 5 preliminary finals since 2000. And we start with Nick Riewoldt coming in at number 5, 2009. I mean, this is one of the most powerful individual displays in a preliminary final we have seen. He kicks 4 goals, 2 in the final quarter, including that incredible toe poke. And the rest is history. They're absolutely fantastic stuff.
Who can forget Mason Cox, Nat, and to think that he's going to be on this stage again. He's a final specialist.
Much maligned.
3 goals on Alex Rance. It was just unstoppable. The MCG was rocking that night with the USA chant, and he's back.
And number 3, Power vs Saints, prelim final. The G-Train kicked the first 2 goals, and the second one being his 100th for the season. And you just see here, everyone stormed on. And it almost stopped, you can see the crowd here, it almost stopped the game, obviously, and it came back in Power's favour. And this goal here by Wingard, this is unbelievable. One of the best goals ever seen at Amy Park. What a finish, put them in front by 6 points, and obviously what ended up happening for Port Adelaide, their first and only. And look at this save here by Shawnee Burgoyne. Look at that,
Silk.
Up by 6 points. He is special.
Absolutely very well. Silk is the feature of number 2 because, of course, Hawthorn broke the Kennett curse in 2013. I was at that game. We hugged random people. I was crying. It was an incredible comeback. And you see Jeffrey there. Did a little dance. No gold jacket for him. And number 1, Josh.
Were you at this one, Nat?
Yes, I was, and I cried.
And as you should. I mean, this game went down to the absolute wire, and it was Luke Ball. What a moment.
Wow. On the left.
God, I just remember walking down the stands. We were sitting right at the back of level 4. I mean, that tackle on Cyril Rioli from Daisy Thomas is... Oh, and look, the heartache. And that's what we're going to get. Preliminary finals, the heartbreak, and then, of course, the euphoria if you do make it through. But that was a classic game. I would debate, though, that the Hawks breaking the Kennett curse should have been number 1 in our top 5, but I got overruled.
You did. Chad overruled you.
I did, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course it was you. Well, speaking of the Kennett curse, I believe Jeffrey has sworn off the media this week because it is the preliminary final. Geelong and Hawthorn going head-to-head once again in finals. Friday night, of course, the MCG is going to be rocking. And Josh, the Hawks are going to have to defy history again to get through to a grand final because they are just the second team since 1994, of course, to reach a preliminary final.
Well, 1994, Nat, was when the top 8 system was introduced. It was tweaked in 2000. North Melbourne's the only other team to reach a prelim. So
from 8th spot,
right,
yeah.
On the ladder. So Hawthorn are aiming for history. You've got to go back to 2015, that loss for the Kangaroos in Subiaco. So plenty on the line.
There is plenty on the line. Let's start with the coaches when we look at this game. Chris Scott, he is the master when it comes to finals. This is his 10th preliminary final, and Sam Mitchell there, the apprentice. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but this is very, very good indeed. It is Sam Mitchell's first preliminary final as coach. He knows how to win them on the big stage, though, a 4-time premiership player. Chad, the tactical battle in the coach's box is going to be such a fascinating one.
Yeah, and obviously I'm really looking forward to this battle because you can just see where it could potentially go. Geelong love having a spare defender. Will Sammy Mitchell obviously even the stoppages up, even the players up, and I love to see what happens. If Geelong start to get not get on top of their centre clearance, do they put Dangerfield into the centre bounces? So these are some of the moves that I'm really looking forward to from the coaching aspect of the game. They can really, I suppose, you're trying to put your team in favour and in front in any way you can. So I'm loving what I can see from prelim final because everything is so quick, everything happens so fast, and obviously coaches make a huge impact.
Now, while we are on the coaches, Josh, a very unusual situation because newly appointed Melbourne coach Stephen King will be sitting in the Geelong coach's box in his role as an assistant. Any issues there with that?
No, I don't think so. And I love this decision by Stephen King because if you go back to 2011, Brenton Sanderson was in the exact same position. Adelaide appointed him in preliminary final week and he made the decision to exit the program immediately. Stephen King was determined to stay, and both Paul Guerra, the CEO, and Steve Hocking, the CEO at Geelong, made the decision that Stephen King will remain with the Cats for the rest of September, no matter how long that goes. And he did say on Monday at his press conference that he spent all of Monday on Melbourne, did the media, did the photo shoots, did meetings with list management and the footy department. But as soon as he got in his car at 5:30am on Tuesday, it was all about Geelong.
Yeah, switch back into focus and potentially only 2 more weeks. So I think that is fine. A new chapter, of course, in this storied rivalry will be written on Friday night. And when it comes to finals, they've met 10 times. You go back to that first grand final in 1963 where the Cats won that one by 49 points. The Hawks actually lead the head-to-head, Chad, 6-4 in finals. What is it that you love about this rivalry?
Well, you got the Easter Monday as well, so you get that bit of a taste of that rivalry during the season, but in the finals, they just come in, obviously, the biggest games. And you think about some of the best players have come in the whole sport, have come from both these clubs.
Yeah.
So the best of the best in the biggest moments on the biggest stage. That's what creates rivalry. And you just see some of the names here, some of the legends of this game have played for both these clubs.
I mean, crazy to think that Gary Ablett could kick 9 goals in a losing grand final, Josh, and Stuart Dew there just had a moment in 2008, those young Hawks, well before their time getting the flag. But there is genuine respect, but also hatred between these two groups and supporter groups as well.
Well, you referenced the Kennett curse, and it's one of the great bits of footy in terms of the modern era. I just love that element to it. But so many famous finals dating back to that 1963 grand final, and who can go past 2008?
Yes, as we see some of the moments here, a missed kick there from... Who was that? Was that Isaac Smith?
You know
and then, yes, I know who that was. And then he went on, of course, to win a Norm Smith medal with Geelong. We never speak about that, but we should talk about a couple of selection concerns, potentially, or injury concerns, Josh, for the Hawks. We saw Jack Ginnivan and Jack Gunston maybe sit off in the last quarter for a little bit of that game in the semi with some hamstring tightness, Jarman Impey, calf soreness. Are they all fine? What's going on?
I'd expect all of them to be fine and play Friday night. Sam Mitchell's essentially got a full list to pick from right now, aside from Will Day. Now, Cal Shadir won't play as well. He's been ruled out for another week due to that hamstring strain. Jack Gunston doesn't miss. Yes, he was tight with his hamstring, but he's had a light week. He'll be fine. Jarman Impey's just sore. Jack Ginnivan's an interesting one because he was hampered last week with that hamstring issue. Barely trained at all. Had a scan. It did come back all clear, so expect him to play as well.
Now, if we go back to last year's preliminary final that the Cats lost to the Lions, there are 3 players who weren't there who are having a big say on Geelong's side in 2025. I'm speaking, of course, of Bailey Smith, high-profile recruit, of course, Connor O'Sullivan, who I absolutely love. I love the game that he's brought to the Cats' backline, as well as Jack Martin. I mean, they're all having a big say in what Geelong are going to do in September.
Only subtle changes, isn't it? It's not wholesale changes to the same team that played 12 months ago. But Chad, we've spoken about Bailey Smith all year. He's clearly been the recruit of the year. He's now become a first-time All-Australian. He won the coaches' votes with Noah Anderson. Might be a Brownlow medalist by Monday night. Been an absolute star coming off an ACL. Connor O'Sullivan is one of the leading contenders for the rising star. To go from playing 1 game in his debut season to playing all but 1 so far this year, he's been a revelation as a young key defender. And Jack Martin, we've been discussing him for 6 weeks. What a wild card. It felt like that when they signed him as a DFA. And he's just proving that. You just get the sense he's going to have some big moments on Friday night.
Yeah, 100%. You just knocked it on the head. You've got the X Factor, you've got the wall, and you've got a Brownlow medalist contender. Like, these are 3 massive additions, and players that obviously have done it for so long now. And I love Jack Martin especially because I feel like they could use him in so many aspects of the game.
All right, time now for Josh's player portrait. And this week, Josh, you're taking a closer look at a Hawk with a little X Factor.
Nat, Josh Weddle beat the clock to make it back this September and is one of the most versatile young players in the game right now. but one day he wants to swap the brown and gold Guernsey for a navy blue uniform, not to join Carlton, but to join the family business. See, Weddle's parents have been members of Victoria Police for more than 30 years. His dad, Jared, is a senior sergeant in West Melbourne, while mum, Tanya, is the leading senior constable in Heidelberg. Weddle's uncle and middle sister are also police officers. So when footy is eventually done, the 21-year-old would like to follow in their footsteps and one day join the Special Operations Group or Critical Incident Response Team. It's not hard to see this guy making big drug busts and conducting manhunts in future. But that's for down the track. For now, Weddle has become Hawthorn's wildcard this final series. He wasn't supposed to play again this year after a stress fracture was discovered in his back at the end of June, but he made it back for the first final and starred last Friday night. This Friday night, his mum will be in the rooms again with her famous cookies to mark Massimo D'Ambrosio's 50th game at the club. She started baking the gingerbread fondue cookies to mark every milestone in 2023. That tradition has continued and we'll have many more celebrations to come.
Commander Weddle. I like it. Of course, he looks like a big game player, but someone else who is a big game player is Jai Newcombe. Mr. September, we might as well call him that because what he has done and produced in finals is something very special. And Chad, you played alongside the boy from Poowong, and what is it about him that makes him thrive on the big stage?
Yeah, and before the finals started, I said Hawthorn is only going to go as far as their midfield will allow them, and Jai Newcombe has been absolutely spectacular. And what makes him so special, I mean, think about how he came into the system. He obviously was a mid-season draft, and he had the first game he had 13 touches, but he had 14 tackles. You think about his evolution of where he started his career and just his first full season, his first 2 full seasons, he was runner-up best and fairest in 2022 and 2023, won the Peter Crimmins medal last year, and you just show, look how some of you see him, like the eye test, he's unbelievable. He's so strong, he's so powerful, he's 187 and he can just burst. There's not many players that can actually go with him in terms of his size, his speed, and now what he's added to his game is his inside 50 kicks, is his kicking ability in general, and his composure with football is improved dramatically since I've seen him at his first stage of his career. But Josh, he's an unbelievable performer in the biggest stage.
What are you doing if you're Chris Scott? Because he had so much success in the first final with O'Shane Mullen playing on Hugh McCluggage, Mark O'Connor got the job on Cam Rayner. Then there's Tom Atkins. Who are you sending to Jai Newcombe on Friday night?
Well, I'm sending Atkins, if I'm being honest, because he's the one that's got the record for tackles, and Jai Newcombe's got one of the records for the tackles broken. So you need someone that's going to slow him down, and someone who's strong enough. I think McCluggage is a very different kind of player to slow down than it is Jai Newcombe. I
mean, look at the players that he's sitting alongside there with Marcus Bontempelli's name, Jordan De Goey, who we'll speak about in just a moment. But Jai Newcombe, a terrific player come September. It'll be interesting to see what they do to stop him. Lloydie, as we welcome you in for Lloydie's Lens, Matthew Lloyd, premiership bomber, of course. He's one they've got to stop, isn't he?
He is, and I'm with Chad. I'd go with Atkins as well. And if otherwise, if Atkins isn't working, go head-to-head with Dangerfield, who did a lot more midfield minutes in that final, which would be a pretty good matchup.
Now, what have you got for us this week on Lloydie's Lens?
Well, the two big forwards in the competition. You've got Jeremy Cameron, who's kicked 85 goals, and Jack Gunston, who's kicked 70. So it's about who you match up on those guys. And I think Josh Battle came to the club for a job like this. He wanted to play in big games. He's got his wish in his first year. So I think he and Cameron is going to be a fascinating matchup. He's got the athleticism, he's got the agility and the speed to go with him. So here is Josh Battle, and Cadman was unsided in the first final because of Josh Battle, and also I thought he stood up big time. So he reads it really well. Pedler under the football. He just stood up time and time again. But everyone's spoken about Josh a lot because he's an All-Australian player, but not Jack Henry. Like, Jack Henry is someone that goes under the radar a lot, doesn't he, Chad? And everyone talks about Tom Stewart, but he equally intercepts just as well. So I'd give him the matchup on Gunston because we saw how wrong Mark Keane got it last week, where he just wasn't smart enough for Gunston, but I think Henry could be smart enough to go with him.
When it comes to the Cats, they can really punish you, can't they?
Yeah, I think you're going to like what I say here, but I think they're the best side in it because of, look at this defensive setup. So they seem to be on the outside of every player. Like, they just don't want to give an outlet. And Zorko, as we let this one roll out, they own the corridor really, really well. So I thought some of their numbers, 32 scoring shots to 19, they went inside 50, 60 times. So intercepts like this happen because everyone looks at the offensive game. I think they go inside forward 50 and have the chemistry as well as any team in the comp. But then defensively, I love this even. Lachie Neale, they keep forcing you away from goal. So it's nothing worse than when you're getting forced away from your goal. Manor put on a clinic through this period. So I know Hawthorn played again last week, so I want to focus on just how good this is. So again, their goals are that way. But watch how they keep forcing Brisbane to go backwards and backwards and backwards before you know it, they're caught up. So I think that was one of the most complete performances and the most complete performance I've seen from a team in the final series.
Now, before we move on to the other game, your tip in this game, your tip in Geelong?
Geelong, and they're my tip for the premiership as well.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to Collingwood and Brisbane. What about the Lions? I mean, obviously getting over the line against the Suns in that semi-final. What do you like from them?
Well, they only know one way. So they were exposed defensively by Geelong, but they know that they just have to go all out and attack. So I think it's their offensive game which is going to trouble Collingwood if Collingwood aren't at their defensive best. So that's Cameron Rayner, you've got Bailey, all the players. I'm not telling you anything no one knows, but they need to play an explosive, dynamic game. Zorko will be taking it on, Jasper Fletcher, Ashcroft, the list goes on and on. So it's the offensive weapons. So I think they're as good as any team in the comp offensively, but then on the flip side of that, Collingwood want a lower scoring game, in my opinion. So Brisbane would love to kick 100 points, but Collingwood want a game like this. So this is Collingwood at their best. It's just manic pressure, coming up to the ball. Lachie Schultz, he's an unheralded player, but it's moments like this which I love. Beau McCreary, what he does for Collingwood. And moments like this where Phil Thorpe lost his nerve. Ben Keys had a shocker. So it's just pressure like this where, Josh, it's just whichever team can get the game on their terms.
You mentioned Will Ashcroft. You coached against him for years in school footy. Has this surprised you at all, how comfortable he is in the final stage?
Well, I think the Dacos boys and the Ashcrofts, they go to lengths and levels to be the best that other players don't. So you can't be that clean and that good at such a young age if you haven't done more work than others. So whether it's just having throwing balls against nets and all that sort of thing, they just have done thousands and thousands and thousands of touches, which makes them far superior. They've got talent, but talent only takes you so far, and that's what makes the Ashcrofts so special.
And we're going to delve into them a little bit later on as well. Their commitment and their drive is just incredible from both of those siblings. And finally, just to wrap up Lloydie's lens, Harris Andrews. Now, here's one, when I look at that Brisbane lineup, I'm thinking, if you're Collingwood, you need to make sure you're accountable for him.
Spot on, Nat. He's taken 22 marks in 2 finals. And I look at this, whether Sean manners his matchup, I'm not exactly sure. But if you go on long searching leads on Harris Andrews, he wants you to do that. So you got to stay with him and make short, sharp leads. Don't do your work too early, otherwise he will just zone off you. But this is grand final day, and it was Billy Frampton. And that's the positioning I would hold on him. So Jeremy Howe's most likely going to play. So that frees up Billy Frampton potentially to go do it again. So the positioning, look how he's just locking him up. Rather than getting caught up and letting him lay off you, that's the positioning. So I don't know if it's Jeremy Howe. I don't know if it's Myercheck, who's not in great form. Could it be Billy Frampton? But I think something will be up Craig McRae's sleeve to have a negating player on him.
And your tip
and
in this one?
my tip is Collingwood to win a title.
Oh, okay. A Geelong-Collingwood grand final from Lloydie. Thank you so much. We'll see you in next week's grand final edition. Matthew Lloyd joining us there on the round ahead. Of course, thanks to Coles. As we get to Saturday night's twilight preliminary final, Collingwood and the Brisbane Lions. And Josh, there are a trio of Pies who are racing the clock to be fit.
They certainly are, Nat. Jeremy Howe is the big one, as Lloydie just touched on. This guy has barely played in the past 3 months. He is coming back from a groin issue. I think he's a fair chance to play now. Tomorrow is D-Day for him. He needs to prove his fitness at training. Brody Myercheck's been a big talking point. He dislocated his toe in that qualifying final against Adelaide. Really struggled to cover the ground. Hasn't trained too much at all, but he never misses. So I don't expect he will miss on Saturday. Dan McStay is available, of course. And then there's Bobby Hill, who has played only 1 game since round 15. That was in the VFL, plus as the sub. It's going to be a big call whether you can bring him in for a preliminary final, given what he's been through.
If he was to come in, what does he add?
Or if he comes in, but again, if you don't bring him in this week, if they get through the grand finals, what is his chances of playing that as well? So it's almost like, how do you see him in the future? But what he adds, you've seen him in the grand final, he won the Norm Smith, and he just creates that dynamic which they don't have necessarily down there. Yes, we've got Elliott, who's obviously more of a leading player, but someone who brings pressure, who makes something out of nothing, and can just obviously not just score goals, but can get goal assists. So Is he ready to play? It's up to them, but he's obviously, we know what he can talent-wise.
Well, we spoke about Jai Newcombe being the Hawks' Mr. September, and a player in a similar vein, but for Collingwood, is Jordan De Goey, and our chief reporter here at afl.com.au, Damien Barrett, caught up with him during the week to ask him a few questions about what it's like playing in big games, as well as that comparison to triple Norm Smith medalist Dustin Martin.
To be honest, I don't get nervous anymore till a couple of hours before the bounce, so I'm being able to put it away in the back of my mind. The only time I got nervous was probably before the 2023 Grand Final, just because of obviously losing in 2018, the heartbreak you go through and everything like that. So that's probably the only game I've gone into quite nervous. I'd like to think I'm up there in final series for sure, but what Dusty's been able to achieve over his whole career, especially final series, I think he's in a whole nother realm. So it's definitely something for me and a whole lot of other players to aspire to. But at the end of the day, if people say I'm a good finals player, I'll take that with me, that's for sure.
So there you go. Nothing phases Jordan De Goey, and he is such an important player, Chad, for this Collingwood outfit.
I think he's the most important, if I'm being honest. You see how he can impact the game, whether he's forward, whether he's on ball, need a centre clearances, or just the moments. He is the best moments player for Collingwood, and he just steps up in all of them. Like, he's been unbelievable in his approach, unbelievable in his execution, and I expect nothing less this week.
The management of him, Matt, it's been superb.
Yeah.
When you think they shut him down in May due to the Achilles issue, hadn't really put together a block of work since 2023 due to all the soft tissue issues. They had a clear plan in place. He went back and played VFL for the first time since 2018, comes back late in the year and does what he does in finals first up. Incredible.
Speaking of big game players, Josh Dunkley is one of those. 18 tackles, unbelievable in the semi-final against the Suns, of course, eclipsing that record set by Jimmy Bartell back in 2009. And I feel like he would be one of Chris Fagan's first picked players, Chad, when he's going through the team list, because he's just so crucial and we probably don't talk about him enough.
We definitely don't, but he just allows other players to excel in his teammates. So he just knows he's going to get the job done. He's holding the stoppages. He did get done this year recently by Dacos up in the Gabba. That's one to be mindful of. So I think he's still got that in the back of his mind as, I've got to make sure this is the biggest stage now. I want to get the job done right now, right then.
You mentioned Dacos, so did Lloyd. He also mentioned the Ashcrofts. Back in round 6, we had this debate, which siblings are going to have the most successful or the more successful careers. Well, it's on again as we look at that Step Brothers graphic. I absolutely love it. I was Team Ashcroft. You two were Team Dacos. And when it comes to Nick and Will, we'll hone in on those two. Both are primed to tear apart this preliminary final. And Chad, if you had to pick one, who are you going for? Even though Will's stats there actually surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think Nick Dacos is the one that I'd love to work with. I think he's a player that everyone wants to, I suppose, play alongside. He's just such a superstar. You think about how much attention he gets compared to Will. Nick is obviously gets tagged every single week by their best player, by their shutdown defender, and he still somehow impacts the game in whatever way is necessary, where he might have a quiet quarter, which might still be 8 touches and a score involvement or a goal. But I think the difference between him is that he gets so much more attention on him compared to Will Ashcroft.
Will Ashcroft's been incredible. We have to point out the 6 finals that he's played now, 4 of them have been really off the charts. We know about the Norm Smith medal, but I think Saturday night was an even better performance against Gold Coast. They don't hand out Marcus Ashcroft medals, Nat, in September, but he would have clearly won his second for the year. He was incredible. He was great in the qualifying final. You go back to last year's semi-final as well against GWS. He was integral to them coming back from 44 points down. So at 21, his record in September is really stacking up early.
No, it certainly is. Now, we do love a little bit of dad cam at the footy, and routinely we see Peter Dacos watching on in the crowd. He's watching his sons seated with his family. But how about Marcus Ashcroft watching the semi-final from the back of the stands? Talk about a nervous Nelly. It was quite unusual.
I loved it. For anyone that's encountered him in underage footy, you just cannot talk to Marcus Ashcroft in game. He just has to be on his own, walking around. Do not engage with him. Even don't engage with him at the breaks. It's just not a good time to talk to him. Are
you a pacer at the footy? Like, what? How do you?
I'm a fidgeter, so I'll fidget with my hands and just can't sit still.
Yeah.
Legs will be twitching. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. You, Josh? No, you're quite calm.
I'm calm.
You're calm. I'm not. I'm a disgusting feral. All right, on that note, let's wrap up the round ahead. Thanks to Coles. We will be back next week with a grand final edition. We cannot wait. In the meantime, enjoy the prelim finals.